Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. We are live once again for our round 15 talking points, and a big episode this weekend. This week we've got quite a bit to talk about. I've got a list of things. I obviously want to dissect State of Origin first, but what I want to do is I want to talk about. I want to introduce first. We've got Sid. A lot of listeners will recognise him. He's a League of Inches regular, so welcome back, Sid. Good to see you. And then
Thanks, boys.
Matty Boy's back. M80 Sports TV. The Eels jumper back on. They've had the bye, got the 2 points. A little bit of off-field incidents, which we're going to dissect in a minute, and we'll go from that. So, and I also want a quick shout out. Matty can help me out with this. Tate Sports Cards, obviously on the page as a sponsor. Just for those interested, Matty, just give yourself a quick little plug for the business. I appreciate everything you're doing for the page.
Yeah, no, I've been a collector for most of my life. As you can see in the background there, quite a bit of cards. But yeah, been a collector pretty much over 20 years and running an eBay store, and kind of want to take it to that next level. And yeah, just thought I'd help some people out and jump on the podcast as a sponsor and get it out there. And yeah,
I appreciate it. Let's get stuck into it. State of Origin's been done, game one. A couple of passionate New South Wales people on this video, so we're still reluctant to talk about it too much, but here we are. Let's obviously talk about where it went wrong for the New South Wales Blues first. And Matty, I want to turn to you. And what's your, now that you've had time to think about it, dissect everything, what happened?
I can't describe it. Like when they got in front with a couple minutes to go, I thought, oh yeah, we'll be right. And then yeah, obviously that just soft tries as well. Like that was the most frustrating thing. Like how do you 3 people in cover not take Cobbo out? Like I don't know. I think where we went wrong is playing favourites and not picking on form.
Yeah, I think that's been a big part of it all. Sid, what are your thoughts initially on the loss for the Blues?
Yeah, very similar to Matt. I think picking favourites. I don't like to single out players. Like try not to be too negative. Like your keyboard warriors online. But I think Tedesco's over the hill. He just for me, if you look at his body in years gone by, his muscles were just like busting out of his shirt, his arms, his legs. Now he just he doesn't look like a rugby league player. He looks like a personal trainer. Do you know what I mean? He's just gone down a peg. And his whole game is based around that power, and he doesn't really pass, like despite what they say. He's got a shocking step, if you ask me. He steps like he's barefoot. He runs one way and it sort of stops, like with both feet, and then he runs the other way, and that's why he's doing all that crab stuff. And often ends up halfway on the ground. Yeah, and then just again, not to single him out, but a lot of players were there on favouritism rather than on form.
Yeah, just on, obviously you've mentioned his name, so we may as well jump straight into the James Tedesco part, because there's been a lot of talk about him and his selections moving forward. Now, I don't think he'll get dropped. He'll be there for at least the rest of the series to see what happens, but as captain, he doesn't have a very good record at the moment at all. I think we've only won one of the last, 3 or 4 that he's been involved as captain, so it's not the best record. Personally, he's probably been one of the better players over that period, which does hold him in a higher sort of stead for how he's going, but he was sort of, my concern with him was on Wednesday night, as soon as the ball sort of got to him, the attack was halted and it just seemed to stop, and all the momentum had stopped. So I don't know if that was helped because the halves didn't step up once again, and I spoke about that. We spoke about it the week before in this episode about Cleary and Luai just not having been able to step up on the Origin level so far, and who knows, maybe Cleary being out, and we'll get into that, could be a blessing in disguise. But, yeah, it's a tough one because he's never going to get dropped. He just seriously won't get dropped, James Tedesco. Freddie will not do it, especially while he's coach. So where else for the Blues at the moment? Can you see some changes, Matt?
Yeah, I think hopefully Latrell comes back in. Ads. But yeah, I think Latrell, if fit, comes back in. I'd like to see players actually play in their positions. But to me, I still reckon Dylan Edwards or Gutho at fullback, mate. I don't think they would have tripped over with a player 20 meters away from them. They would have saved the try there. But yeah, I don't know. I think if we lose the next game, I think Fittler's done, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the same. The thing that really gets to me at the moment is the fact, and I've heard a lot of these league shows and radio stations and things like that talk about the fact on game one and Brandy comes out, and honestly, I'm a bit tired of Brandy, and I can get to that a bit later, but I'm really over his sort of mood and things like that. He's basically, it's his way or the highway, and he's never wrong. But for mine, the problem with form is that, they need to pick on form, not club selections, because the rep scene, origin level, is completely different to club footy. Queensland get that. Queensland never pick in terms of who plays together at clubland. It's just we pick our best players and they make it work. They play with passion. There you go. New South Wales still, all these years later, since Andrew Johnson retired, just don't get it still. So I just don't know why they need to keep going back to this club combination, which has only won us one series out of the last four. Like, it's not a proven winning combination. It's not that like they've won 5 in a row and they're going to give him some time. They haven't proven anything.
Yeah,
that's me. But let's quickly go into the Queensland side of it. They basically didn't lose much at all. It was just a typical Queensland sort of Queensland performance with what they were doing. Sid, what did you make of the Queensland side of things?
I'm going to draw back on something Corey Parker said many years ago, and when he first started commentaries, it was just after he retired, and he was talking about the Queensland mentality. And the Queensland mentality is it's a very simple one. It's do 100% of your job and 10% of your teammates. And that last play where Collins caught that high ball, and there were 3 New South Wales players just standing around asking for his autograph or something. That was just a perfect example, you know. The Queensland players just kept their legs moving. It was, 78 minutes, something like that. I don't know. I had a few too many drinks. So I can't remember what minute it was, but fair income, seriously. The Queensland players were all moving, and all the blue shirts, all the dark blue shirts, were just standing around. And you thought, okay, something's going to happen here. Then Collins, of all people, the bloody front rower, takes the ball and gives it in time to Munster. It's just like talking about rubbing salt into the wounds, but that epitomizes Queensland for you. 100% of your job, 10% of your mates.
If you went back and retold how this Origin game played out, and you told whoever was listening to you that the Queensland team would be the winners, they're dead set laugh at you and go away and get off the wacky tobacco, basically. Like, they were never supposed to win this game of football, yet somehow we're talking about the fact that they've won it. And for mine, that's the issue. Like, go back to some of the New South Wales selections. Like, for mine, Coruscant, a lot of people say he didn't do much wrong, but he didn't do much right either because he was out on his feet. He hasn't played 80 minutes of football this whole season, and they've thrown him in the Origin arena and expected him to go out and play 80 minutes. Like, they've set themselves up for failure before a ball was even kicked for mine, the selectors. And Billy Slater, Cam Smith, Jonathan Thurston are sitting there, and they just get it right. Like, the playmakers, as much as I've knocked GCE in the past, he just steps up and gets it right at the big times, and he's done it time and time again. He can easily just sit back and let Cameron Munster take over, and that's his style of play, and that's what he does. Matty, Queensland are obviously going to be forced to make some changes with a couple of injuries, but is there any real changes Queensland can be looking at?
No, they just get Origin. I hate to say it, but they just get it. Like, no matter who they put in that team, like we're all talking last week about the selection of the hammer at center, and he absolutely carved us. Like, just Walsh obviously over Ponga, but even it wouldn't have mattered having Ponga in there. He would have done the same thing. Like, no matter who they put in that jersey, and they didn't change the color of the jersey, just throwing it out there because that made me angry. But yeah, I no matter who they put in there, they could put me in there, and I'd still slot in and look like a superstar amongst that team. Like, it's just, and you look at it, and some of those names, you wouldn't even pick him in your super coach. Like, and they're on Origin just killing it. Like, yeah, I just think we need to take a lot from their structure, because I remember a couple years back they said they've already got like 6 teams in waiting that train together, that as soon as one player retires, the next one already knows all the calls or already knows everything. Fittler just too busy making them earth and walk around with no shoes on and do all his hippie mumbo jumbo stuff, and obviously it's not working. But yeah, I don't know.
To all the hippies out there, we love you.
Yeah, sorry guys.
The page. I love what you guys are doing out there, so thank you. Sid, I want to get to you about something. I just want to quickly ask you a fan question. Are you currently at the Snow?
No, I'm at home. I'm sitting at the back actually, because if I make a peep while the kids are trying to sleep, they jump up. Daddy's home, and yeah, it's party time. So yeah, I have to sit out the back. But I made some extra lighting just for you, Joel.
Thanks, mate. I've got to ask the question now. It's Cleary's gone. Cleary's down and out. We've lost him for both games, 2 and 3. Who is your halves combination? Actually, I'll go your spine, Sid, because I think this is a talking point. So I want your 1, 6, 7, and 9. And then give me your 14 as well. Throw that in there.
Okay. All right. 1, I'm going to go Dylan and Edwards, because I've had enough of Tedesco, Dansko, the ice skater. That's enough of that. I think Hines on
that. Yeah. On that, there's a guy who's normally on here. His name's Adam. He's been on the last couple of times, and he will be loving the fact that you're in on Tedesco at the moment. So just a quick shout out. Adam's sick. We miss your ads, but I know he's watching in and out, so I'll probably be passing out soon, so we might lose him as a viewer, but keep going.
Well, he clearly knows his footy, because Tedesco's been past his best. Dansko. So it'll be Dylan Edwards for sure. I put Hines in at halfback on form, with some conditions, I should say, not contingencies. I would say conditions. And look, in the interest of keeping some sort of familiarity in the side, I'd leave Luai. I think Cody Walker's a better match to Hines, because they both run at full pace when they're spreading it, whereas the Panthers boys stand and catch it when they spread it. And it's only their line runners that hit the ball at speed. So both their halves, Luai and Cleary, stand and catch it. Very, very, very rarely see them other than the slightest of jogs. And I thought Cook should start. I agree with your earlier sentiments. They were expecting Panthers form from Coruscant when they got Tigers Coruscant. With respect to him, like he's just a little bit out of form, and you got to go with form. And Cook was building to the form. The only problem was he did everything right other than get picked for some reason. And my 14 would have to be someone that would cover the position. So it'd either be like I don't know, I'm not sure actually. Maybe Cody Walker can cover both halves, I guess.
Yeah, not bad at all. Matty, what's your take on your?
So I'm gonna go way left field here. So if fit, I'd have Latrell, fullback. I'd have, as much as I want to say Moses at 7, I'd probably put Cody Walker and Adam Reynolds. With Cook 9, and then 14, I'm going to go left field, and I'm going to say Clint Gutherson.
Wow. Okay.
Or you could put Luai 14, because I know he can train. He's been training a bit of hooker, and he's played a bit of hooker before. But yeah, I think Cook, the old Souths firm.
I don't mind that at all.
If Fittler's so adamant about players that have played together, like you just look at the Souths combinations and stuff like that. So I'd literally have like last year's South spine before Reynolds went to Broncos. So
I don't mind that shout at all. The thing I really, the way I'll go, and Troy, listener, he's actually got my one on the head. So I don't think Tedesco will get dropped for mine. He'll stay in there. Whether I think that's the right decision or not, but for now, I think he will stay there. Walker for mine, 5'8". Now, the more and more I think about Walker, the more and more I think if they go, I could also go Hines in a way, because I think at rep level, 5'8" suits him more than it does halfback, and I think Adam made a point a bit earlier, and I'll pop it up now, is that, and this is my concern with if they go with this one, it's Hines halfback, Luai 5'8". There's no real kicking game there because both are very weak in that department. And for mine, and we're going to talk about this a bit later with the Cronulla Sharks, is that I feel like this is one of their big downfalls, is that the kicking game is almost non-existent when you compare it to like an Adam Reynolds and a Mitchell Moses and a Nathan Cleary, obviously, where they're just superior. And if we go to Suncorp Stadium, the Hines-Luai combination, we're going to be left for dead. Queensland will run all over us because the long kicking games is not there. So I'm going
to throw another one out there on kicking games. Would you put Burton off the bench or as a centre?
That's for mine. I'll have Burton as my 14 because I think he covers that backline positions a lot better. He obviously can do the halves as well if need be. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen. But then Reynolds is my halfback. Walker's my 5'8". So I like Burton. He played well last year in that game 3 and things like that. Like he was the only one that was going after him and played with some passion. I was shocked that he wasn't included at all in this sort of makeup of the 17. So Hines off the bench doesn't work, and because Brad Fittler doesn't know how to use him basically, and there's not for mine Hines, and I said it before game 1, Hines has to either start or Hines isn't in the team at all. That's my personal opinion on how that happens. And if he is to start, I'd be putting him at 5'8". Boys, for now, let's put Origin aside. I'm a bit over-talked about it for now. I want to steer clear. There's too much in clubland going on, and we've got a guy on at the moment who's a massive St. George Illawarra Dragon, and I want to go straight to him. We all thought Jason Rolls, signed, sealed, delivered. Now, Sid, if people have listened to the latest fan episode we did, I was doing it with yourself, and we both actually agreed that it wasn't the right way to go. So I guess, in a way, you're happy it's happened, but, man, the process has been a bit of an embarrassment.
Yeah, there's something really odd about the way the news trickles out of that club. And, we did also talk about the leakage happening. We seem to get news left, right, and centre when it's not ready, it's not confirmed. Riles apparently was all but signed, according to rumour land, and yet he didn't end up signing. But having said that, I'm happy with that outcome for whatever reasons he rejected it. Like he's got standards, like he's an 10-time premiership winner. Like seriously, I don't know. I don't know what the fuss was about him. They need an experienced coach. We've talked about that as well. We did cover that. And I was thinking like Hasler or Flanagan or even Tuvey, if he's still interested in that lifestyle. He's already lost his hair, so it can't get any worse.
Yeah, I've said it on post before on the page. I do think it's a job for an experienced coach. Now, we're hearing Flanagan starting to poke his nose a little bit into that scenario. I personally feel like it's still a Des Hasler zone where he goes there for 3 years and basically just turns the place upside down. And tells the board members to go and get effed, basically, which he will do every time he's at a different club, and that's why Manly got rid of him. And that's basically how Des has the roles. But that's what the Dragons need for mine. There's too much coming out of the club at the moment, and it's all coming from board members. Like, I heard Peter Dowse was ousted, and there was massive campaigns about him, but now I'm hearing he's still got most of the say around the club. Like, I don't understand how that sort of works when the members now voted to get rid of him.
Yeah, he's still the chairman.
Yeah, well,
he's still on the board. One of the three Illawarra.
I was gonna say, like, talk about clubs like that. We're used to that at Para, so
unfortunately, it's the way it goes, isn't it? Matty, who do you think, as a neutral? Probably don't really care what way the Dragons go, but what do you think it's pointing towards?
I'd probably go Flanagan, or left field. Maybe give Madge Maguire a go. I know he's doing some pretty good stuff with Canberra as an assistant coach. So he's won a premiership. I know he didn't do too well at his last gig at Tigers, but nobody's done well at Tigers. So maybe, I don't know, give him a bit of a run. Maybe they need to put like a coaching director in to just restructure how it's all done. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'd be going probably Madge Maguire or Flanagan.
Yeah, just a quick one for all those listening as well. Please place your comments in below and your questions. We'll get to them as we go on each subject. I'll post them up and we'll give our thoughts on it. Everyone's involved for these shows. But for the Dragons, I feel like it almost needs the West Tigers set up. Now, when it originally happened, we all scratched our head and thought, how's this going to work? But it's actually working. I feel like a senior coach, so like a Hasler, a Sheens, a Flanagan, and they have a young guy coming through with them for a few years that then takes over. Now, I'm hearing Dean Young could be that guy, or Ben Hornby, and that's perfect because they're players that have been around the club. A lot of those young players have watched them play. They know who they are, so they've already got that respect built up. I feel that's almost a perfect scenario. Is that something as a fan, Sid, you could get around?
Yeah, that's something I'm a lot more comfortable with than a new coach, another old boy. You know, we've seen Barrett fail. I know he didn't coach at the Dragons, but we've seen Barrett fail. Brown, good bloke, otherwise known as McGregor. He's a good bloke, so we'll give him 3 more years, like fair income. You know, Steve Price was a disaster as well. All these old boys, they're not coaches. The problem with ex-players, if I may add, is very, very important. A lot of people don't know is when they do their coaching ticket, as you go with the juniors, then you go to mod league, and then you know, like the 18s and above, right? You keep going up the ranks. When they're ex-players, they get exempt from those tickets, and along with that, they skip all the experience. So a lot of ex-players don't coach young kids. You know, Paul Gallen, who hates St. George, but he's a good example. They told him about coaching. He said, no, I coach my son. He's under 10s. This year's under 11s. I'll go with him and I'll learn the way up. He can skip it all and go straight to first grade. But you can see they're just missing a lot of that foundation as a result.
There's been a lot of talk about it. It's an interesting point you bring up there. And it's one that we could delve into a bit more and dive into is that a lot of these current, like we talk about Jason Rolls, for instance, he hasn't actually coached anywhere yet. And there was all this mad fanfare and media build up about the guy. He actually hasn't had control of a first grade team yet for any decent amount of time. It's dangerous territory because we've seen it before where these assistant coaches, the lifestyle of being an assistant coach to being a head coach is completely different. Assistant coach, you're supposed to be best mates with them. Head coach, you're supposed to be the guy that is basically Hitler and you make sure that they're doing the right thing. So it's a tough one. Good luck, Dragons fans, on who does get appointed. Who knows? It's taken that long now. I think even Dragons fans are over it. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be announced in the next, I'd say, week at least. Probably by Friday would be ideal, who this is going to be, and they can start moving forward. So to be fair, since Griffin has left, I feel like they've been playing some decent footy. They're actually looking a lot better. So it's not a massive clean out that's needed. It's just to a coach that knows how to coach is needed there and knows how to organise the surroundings of what the Dragons club is. It just needs to be a full-on club coach, and then we go from that. So, Matty, you've got the Para jumper on. Here's the next talking point, and I know we don't want to talk about it too much. Just one final comment.
A little bro.
One final comment I want to go on the Dragons. I think this is a great idea. They just need a barbecue and decide who the coach is. So, Sid, are you happy to have the barbecue at yours?
100%. Let's do it.
Bring it on. Now, Matt, let's do it. Let's get the tissues out. It was one of those moments where you start to get a little bit confident going, the season's turning around, we're starting to look good. And then Dylan Brown wants to go out Saturday and not control himself. Allegations are we can't really talk too much about what's going on until it's more's come out tomorrow with the court case. But as a fan, I've got my own things to say about it. I'll let you go first because anyone who listens to the Talking Para podcast as well, it'll be on tomorrow night. I've got a rant segment and it's coming up on that, but I'll give you a little preview. So, Matty, what's your thoughts here?
When are they going to learn? Like, did they not see this whole Jared Hayne thing? Have they not seen how Hainsey had the world at his feet, and then, you know what I mean? Like, come on, but in saying that, like, there's some players out there that I've known over the years, and I've experienced it and gone to clubs with players, and I know for a fact that there's some girls out there that do it on purpose. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I've seen little clips of the video and it doesn't look good for Dylan. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it just seems to me that every single time we get a little bit of hope as an Eel fan, something hits the media. And Sid wants to talk about leaks in his club. Our club has the worst leaks. So
we need plumbers, and we need some very good plumbers.
God, like if it's not salary cap issues, it's not players going to Crown that Star City Casino with bikies. It's not. It's just out of control when we're about on the cusp of going on a run or finally getting back in the top 8. Something just, but yeah, like I don't know.
This is my rant. Now, I'll give you everyone a preview before tomorrow.
Dylan should have never purchased that apartment in the city. He should have stayed out west where it's further to go to nightclubs and yeah.
Are you hitting the panic button, Matty?
If you want me to.
I don't think it will work. Oh, look. No, that's right. I want to have my say on this matter and before I go to Sid. And this is not just on Dylan Brown and the Eels and the club. This is on first grade football players as a whole. And I don't get why players feel the need for when it's the bye week, whatever it is during the season, to go out on the drink, get plastered, get yourself into mischief. I really just do not understand why you're having that salary, why you go ahead and do it. Now, you've got the money.
Should have went to Bali.
Mate, they should have just done. Honestly, they got the money to hire a bloody penthouse somewhere, do whatever you want, no phones, no nothing, no one knows about it. That's what you need to do. My biggest gripe with it all is that you're a professional athlete, okay? I know of plenty of professional athletes, and not even at the professional stage. I'll talk about athletics, for instance, and when I used to do it. That season used to go for, in the build-up, the preseason and the main season, was about an 8 to 9 month period. Most athletes don't touch a drop of alcohol during that period, myself included, and I wasn't even professional because I knew what effects of the body it has and how it affects recovery and things like that. Now, this is for first grade football players who this is their life. A lot of these players, this is all they know. They're not, sorry to say, but they're not academic enough to have a future career post this, and this is how they set themselves up. Now you're playing with danger, getting into these scenarios. All of a sudden tomorrow it could be torn apart. Your career could be torn apart. So players need to seriously start thinking about what their next moves are post rugby league, because they might not have it. They might have to fast forward to whatever that plan is. Sid, you've been around for a while. You've seen, obviously, back in the day, this wasn't as big of an issue because you had things like no cameras, no phones. I know a lot of the past players used to get up to some mischief, but this day and age is a completely different story, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. It's about being in the public eye and the public not really having the best interest of the player. Putting aside this Dylan Brown situation, that's a whole different thing. But in terms of the public waiting for you to stuff up or waiting for you to get carried out of a club or a bit of push and shove with a bouncer, all the phones come out, and as I say, it's not in the best interest of the player. So I 100% agree with you. They need to. If they want to go out and have drinks, like I understand the young blokes, they're single and whatever else, you got to go private. You got to hire a room, put in money together. The Bucks rules, the Bucks party rules. No phones. Anyone pulls out their phone, you throw them out. I've seen it happen in Bucks parties too. Look, if it's going to come to that, that I think of the guy that filmed. I think it was Mitchell Pearce in the public toilet. And another time when Mitchell Pearce grabbed that girl's ass on CCTV. And another time when Mitchell Pearce, anyways, that's enough of Mitchell Pearce. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, they have to be smart. Well, you got to remember they are kids, 22 years old. I went to a nightclub 10,000 times, probably why I didn't make the NRL, but, they want to go out and drink, but they have the money to upgrade their scenario to a private area, private function only, and regulate it that way. It's it's disappointing. Yeah,
I know. There's certain clubs in Sydney that have literally like no phone policies when it comes to NRL players. Like if they got like, I think there was a story a couple years ago about Roosters players. There was a bar in Sydney where they had a private room where no phones were allowed in. So they left their phones at the door and went in this had like a private function room out the back of a nightclub, so they can go in and not worry about what was going to happen. Like,
smart way to do things.
Yeah, like, yeah. There's, but in saying that, like, we know Dylan personally. Like, it kills me to know. I know him personally, and I don't know if he would consciously do something like that.
Yeah. And there's real allegations for now. We have to keep saying that he has been charged, but it's not full on in the course. We don't want to talk about the matter too much. But the other thing I'll quickly, for mine mainly, and they used to do this, I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to always have this policy. If one was going out, sort of whoever was going out, we're all going together. And they'd always have security with them. They actually hired security company who, that was their job. They're still with them.
Eels actually used to have a security guard.
Yeah, and
they're called handlers. They're called handlers.
Yeah.
I've heard some pretty good stories out of it because I know that the guy personally that was doing it, but he basically saved a lot of Manly players their career. Basically, with some of the things he's literally grabbed ex-players and gone, "You do that, you can piss basically your contract down the drain," and they've quickly sobered up and gone, okay, let's not do that. And he's just made sure they've always had sort of sectioned off areas and things like that. And I'll tell you what, if clubs don't do it at the moment, they need to look into that and quickly, because this day and age with how people are, like Sid mentioned it, there is people out there that want to make a quick buck off this and they'll set players up, but players also have to be better themselves. So it's sort of a two-way street. But look, that's sort of it for that. I want to talk about a team before I go into some sort of mid-season predictions. That for mine is, they're up near the top of the ladder, but they're doing it in a way that I don't think gives them any hope for finals football once they get there, and that's the Cronulla Sharks. Now, their top 8 record at the moment is 0-5. They haven't beaten a top 8 team yet in any of the games that they've played. So, if you're a Cronulla fan, it's got to be a worry, because these are the teams you're going to be versing when if push comes to shove, and I mentioned it earlier. Now, my problem with them is, and I've got nothing against Nico Hines, he's a great player, but they don't have an actual halfback at that club at the moment who can actually run the ship and do that typical organise the play and do what they need to do. And that's, for mine, where it's going. So, Matty, where are you at here with the Shark side and the fact that they can't beat these quality opposition?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of second-year syndrome for Nico. Took the NRL by storm, like last year, and it decided to leave the Storm. They, as a fullback, playing him halfback. To me, I think it's if I'm Cronulla, I'm looking at, if Nico is the future of that club, I'm looking at someone like a Matty Moylan, maybe shifting him to either another position, and I'm moving Nico to 6 and maybe bring Trindle in at 7, because we've seen how much better Sharks are when Trindle's at 7. And yeah, I'd do something like that, like switch it up a bit, because everyone knows what the play is going to be. Like, they either go to Ramian or they go to Talakai, or it's just bomb and hope type thing. Like, and it seems like he's not really taken the line on as much as he did last year. And when they know it, they almost know it's coming as well. Like, there was a game I watched about, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something, and there was a gap. Like, he could have just strolled over untouched, and he didn't take it on. Where we saw, like, we called it last week when Moses, straight from the scrum, the massive gap there, and I said he's going to run here, like in the stadium, and he done it. But I was watching the game, and yeah, they were losing it by 4 or something, and there was just this massive gap, and he could have just strolled over untouched. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's more to it. I don't know.
Well, I think so as well. Sid, the Sharks are sitting nice and comfortably in the top 8, but for mine, things just don't seem right when you can't notch a win against these top 8 teams. When you got teams like the Eels, the Cowboys, these are teams that are coming and chasing these clubs and have beaten the bigger teams so far this season, where a team like the Sharks haven't done so yet. What's your worries about, or the concerns about the Sharks?
Yeah, in addition to what you guys said, I would say that they rely a lot on their power game in the middle, because their forwards are just monstrous. So, you know, they've always had good forwards, and each new bloke that comes in is bigger than the last bloke. And, you know, like Hammond Ueli's gone down a bit, and then Royce Hunt's in there, and he's doing damage, scoring tries off the, you know, right under the posts. And they're really good. I agree with the Hines thing. I think he's better suited to attack the edges. He's a little bit too close to play the ball into the middle third of the field, and that's why you're not seeing him score other than the backup on the middle. So when there's a line break down the line, whether it's the wing or center, and he backs up through the middle, and they draw the fullback. That's the only time he's scoring now, really. But having said that, I'd rather be in their position than ours. I think Fitzgibbon is building, but he's also learning at the same time. They've got to figure out a way. Maybe this is not quite their year, but the important thing is when they fall short, they need to take those lessons with them.
Yeah, it's good points. And this brings me on to the next part I want to talk about. And guys, get your questions in, things like that, and we'll get to them shortly. Which team do we feel like outside of the 8 is making a run to play finals football this year? And then give me a team, you can maybe even have 2, that you think is in the 8 at the moment and looks like sliding out of the 8. Who wants to go first here, boys?
I need to look at the table again.
That's what I'm looking at now.
Can you read it out to us?
I'll give you the top 8. There you go. I'll do,
because you know I don't do any research. Joel, you know I don't do any research.
I'll read it out. I'll go top to bottom. So you got Penrith, Broncos, Rabbitohs, Sharks. Then you got Storm, Raiders, Warriors, Dolphins. That's your top 8. Your bottom 9, sorry. Roosters, Manly, Knights, Eels, Titans, Cowboys, Bulldogs, Tigers, and then I've forgotten someone, the Dragons.
This is don't get me started. This could be our first spoon ever in 102 years. You know that?
What about
102 years.
who's coming out of the 8? Who's
I've got one. I've got one coming out. I just, with all due respect, I know I might regret this, but I think the Raiders. They peaked and had a good run. They've got a great squad. It's, but I think they're maxed out, and the problem with the Raiders is they'll have an arm wrestle with the team coming first, and they'll have an arm wrestle with the team coming last. They just every game's a grind for them. So I think the Raiders will come out just purely on percentages, and who is going to come in? There was a team you mentioned that I think might come in and nick that spot in their place. That's on the rise. You have to come back to me on that one.
Oh, I'll come back to you. I'll let Matty go first then.
I was going to say Eels, but I'm like, shit, are they in the 8?
No, we're out, mate. We're out of the 8.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Like, it's weird, and I know Troy's already said it. Yeah, I think I want to say Dolphins out of the 8, but looking at it, I think I agree with Sid. I think Canberra. But looking at it now, just saying, I'm going to throw another left fielder out there. If Cleary's out for 6 weeks.
Oh, right? Here we go.
No. And you look at how, it's 4 points between 9th and 1st. Right? If Cleary's out and they don't literally win a game with Cleary out and all the other teams win. Now, a bit of background, Sid. I live in Penrith and we don't get along very well.
You got electric fence around your house or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
In that Cogger, I'd probably be with you. The Cogger was great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but against the Dragons. Everyone's great against the Dragons.
But yeah, I'm gonna say maybe Canberra drop out, and I think as much as I don't want to say Eels, because I think we need to miss the 8 to get a few off-field management issues sorted. But yeah, I think Eels will slide back in the 8, only just.
Look, it's been said, Warriors and Dolphins are on the edge, and that's fair to say. These two lovebirds in the comments are just loving life. It's good to see them getting along this week. Maybe tomorrow night will be a different story.
Tomorrow night. Wait for tomorrow night. See if they're getting along.
Look, the Warriors are playing a great style and great brand of footy. So I'm reluctant to say they'll come out of the 8, but they've got a really hard run home. So I don't think they're going to be able to manage that. I've done it in the last week where I was putting out their run home posts, and they've got a really hard run home. So I think they drop out. The Dolphins are sort of 50-50 with their run. They could string, but they're starting to lose some players, and that was the worry for them, their depth. So I could see them sliding out. Canberra, as Adam said, and they're on the list because they've conceded 50. So early on, they can't do anything. So they're gone.
But Adam's also got Cowboys going in there, and they conceded 60.
Yeah, well, Cowboys can't do anything either. So what a turnaround that is in 2 weeks. Who would have thought that you get beat by 60 and then you put 46 on the Storm? Goodness me, or 45, sorry.
Cost my multi, just saying.
I think Cowboys are looking like they could make a run for it and make it in. I want to say the Eels, and I don't want to say too much because I can't give away too much for tomorrow night, but my worry is this Brown situation, and it could become – he's such an important figure in the club.
It could become the Corey Norman situation.
Well, he has such – even the work he does on the footy field, he's so important to the team at the moment where losing him, that could make or break.
Just his tackles alone, like...
Yeah, it could make or break it.
It was like back in the day. We got all our points stripped off us. We're going on a run. We needed to win 8 from the last 10, which I think it is now. And we started going on this run, and then all of a sudden, Corey Norman gets done at Star City Casino and gets stood down for the rest of the year. And
we've seen this before, haven't we?
it's
but you didn't have Jake Arthur though.
We don't have him now either.
Is he gone mid-season? Is he?
Yeah,
mate, where have you been? He's gone to Manly. He went there.
I know. I thought he signed next year.
No, he played for Manly on the weekend.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
when has he ever played? But seriously, it's terrible. Anyway,
Jake gave him his football jersey. Jake to Jake. It was fantastic stuff. Loved it. So, look,
the old ball boys.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely made on his own merit. That's for sure. Anyways.
In saying that, just a quick
average.
One.
He's average. Yeah.
I think Dejan Arcee's like literally a replica of Dylan. I think they could be the same player. Like
gamble responsibly, guys. I have to say that, but with your head not over it or whatever the saying is, I must say. But unlucky ads.
He was leading as well. He would have won.
He was going to win it. He would have won it.
Wow. What a rip.
And he regretted when he found out he could have won that year, he was so angry.
I'll give you a smoky who's going to make the 8. The West Tigers, for mine, are playing a tremendous brand of footy at the moment.
I had Dogs.
They should have beat the Raiders. And
at the start of the year, I put Dogs to be fighting for top 8 in the last week of the.
Let's just watch the West Tigers. Watch in the next couple of weeks. They're going to start coming up that ladder. But, guys, it's our weekly segment. I don't think Sid would have done this by now, but our multis. Guys, after this, we'll have a quick 5 minutes of questions. So get them in. If you've got any out there, please send us through a question about anything that's going on in the league or state of origin related, and we'll get to them. Matty, do you have yours ready to go?
Yeah. Just let me find my screen.
I'll go mine.
Yeah, go yours.
I got Raiders head-to-head. Just I'm not too sure if they'll smash them or not, so I just went safely. South Sydney, 13+ against the Dragons. Unfortunately, sorry, Sid. I think danger game, South Sydney bouncing back into form in a big way. I think the Storm, because of the Sharks' record, get the job done in a close one, so 1-12 for the Storm. And the Bulldogs to cover the line against the Eels with this off-field incidents. I think it could be a little bit of a distraction, but enough forwards back for the Eels to get the job done. Plus 9.5 start for the Bulldogs. So that's mine. And look, guys, you're probably thinking, yeah, nice multi. You'll probably get about $5 for that, mate. 22.34. So gamble responsibly, bet with your head not over it. There's your multi for the week, guys. This is the week. I can feel it. We're going to get one. We're going to get one this week. Matty?
I've gone down by 1 every week. Freaking Storm last week. Oh, anyway, so mine is Adam sent his through. All right, so I got. Wait, I'll read Adam's out.
Thanks, Troy. That's just a quick one, guys. You win some, you lose more. That's the official slogan I need to use when we're talking gambling. So, thanks for the heads up.
Here's Adam's multi. He's just sent through.
He's put it up.
Oh, there we go.
Tigers to win. So the fans all know this. Tigers to win. Para 13+. Brisbane 13+. Turbo anytime try scorer now that he's been cleared. And, we'll actually touch on that. It's the first question that's come in after this because that's a pretty big talking point for mine. Actually, the fact
I think that's a
what's it paying at?
It's paying $15.41 power play.
Not bad. There's your getting off the meagering noodles for a week. Thank you.
Mate, how does Reed Marnie play after being knocked out? Just saying. Anyway, so here's my one. I've got Canberra 1-12. I got Broncos 13+. I got Roosters to beat the Panthers head-to-head. And I've got Melbourne Storm to cover the line at -5.5. All up with the power play, $29.64.
Oh, I mean, Matt, bloody look out. That is, you can go to the Centrepoint Tower for dinner after that.
Maybe.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right, someone's going to have to draw it up for me because I'm using my phone for this live. I have to go Dragons plus the start. I think they've been improving. I know Souths can put a cricket score on at any turn, any stage, but I'm going to go Dragons plus the start. I'm going to go Tigers win. I'm going to go Broncos 13+. They're just very impressive. They got Reynolds back and they're much better. And there was one more leg I had. What was it? I think Eagles minus the start. I think it's gonna galvanise in this situation here. So I've got 4 legs for you, you know.
Yeah, thanks for that. Were you able to do that live for us, Matty?
Yep, I'm just finishing it off now.
Oh, we'll just quickly buy some time.
That is with the power play. That's $11.57.
Oh,
yeah, not
beautiful.
bad. So you'll get off your meagering and upgrade to cocktail Frankfurts. So not bad.
He can cut up the cocktail Frankfurts and put it in the meagering.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Now, guys, I said put your questions in, and Adam started us off there mentioning Turbo. I think this is something we need to talk about. We haven't done so yet. The NRL's cleared him, and he's able to come back and play. Now, for mine, if he wasn't in line for State of Origin, no way in the world they would clear him to play this. From mine, it's actually a bit of a joke. The NRL came out at the start of the year saying how much they're protecting the players. They want the best for the players' welfare, safety. This goes against everything they're talking about because there's a blanket rule there. And how can you now go? Basically, what you're saying is the doctors are getting it wrong, and all the research that has happened is wrong, and it's not don't need a stand down period. It's fine. Let's go back to how we were. Basically, if they've done this now for one player, what's other players gonna come and how can they say no to them? Sid, what's your opinions on this one? This happened today. If you were able to catch it.
Oh, fair dinkum. Seriously, Turbo shouldn't have been cleared to play this year. He's playing that bad. He's playing at one leg. He goes to Origin at 70%. The hammer takes him through the cleaners, and now he's injured and apparently playing. With a head injury, was it? And he's apparently magically better again. Fair dinkum. No from me.
HIA, mate. So, what's your thoughts on this one?
On which one?
Oh, the Turbo. Sorry, I know you've been doing live bets and whatever else you're doing.
No. Yeah, no, it's a weird one, eh? Like, we've had the last 2 weeks in a row, we've had 2 players sit out in a 11 game, whatever it is. But how can he fail a HIA and then play like 4 days later, kind of thing? Like, I don't know. It
doesn't make sense. It seriously just doesn't make sense. And I know I put it up this morning. A lot of people were basically just saying, is this a joke? Is this actually serious? Because I don't think many people can actually believe that the NRL has actually cleared this. Like all the research that all sports have done over the last few years about this and how much of a serious issue it's become. And then for this to happen, it's next level. But anyway, that's it, guys. There's no real other questions come in. A lot of watchers. Don't be shy, guys. Get involved. It's fantastic.
Adam, question and read money. I mean, Marnie.
All right,
slip of the tongue.
who? Let's fast forward time. Let's send this off with. We're fast forward to next week, and who's the coach of the Dragons for 2024?
For Herbie Flanagan.
You reckon Flanagan's getting a nod?
Yeah. I think he's going to get it because he went from making saying in I think it was a podcast or the radio or something that he was never going to go for it, and like we discussed last week, Joel, like would you take a $200,000 assistant coach job or a $700,000-800,000 head coach job? One of 17 prestigious jobs in Australia. You know, you'd be stupid not to. All of a sudden, they're talking to his manager. It'll be Flanagan.
You'll know he's going there when Bulldogs release Kyle and he signs with Dragons for next year.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
saying.
Yeah. We've already spoken about this, but this father-son combination
Just
is a dangerous combination. You should avoid it at all costs, is my opinion.
Yeah.
It very rarely works. The Clearys are a different beast, and probably the Langs, because the big Martin Lang just ran like a bloody freight train, and that doesn't impact you really if your dad's telling you.
That's right. That's right.
But it doesn't work too much. Matty, who is your halves pairing for the Blues moving forward?
I'm going to say Reynolds and Walker.
Lock it in. Lock that in. So that gets announced on, obviously, quickly as well, with the next week. A lot of people have been talking about this and a bit confused. The Origin lineups get released next Tuesday because there's a game on Monday. So that's the Eels versus the Dogs. So it's a shorter campaign as well. That means I think it's only ends up being an 8-day campaign instead of a 10-day. So that's going to come into.
It kind of makes you wonder if he'll just pick the same team if it's going to be a short turnaround.
That's the thing there. I feel like that could be a changing point or a turning point there. So that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We've reached our time. It's time to say goodbye to our lovely friends. Thank you, everyone, for the support to the page. It's been growing massively. I appreciate everyone so far that gets involved with posts, videos, watches these shows live. We'll keep doing them. People are loving them. We'll have Adam back next week, no doubt. He won't come up with a mystery illness once again. Please, stay at home this weekend and just watch footy. Just do what's good for you, mate. Thank you. Sid, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Last minute call up. Look, we'll probably get you in a couple more times as well, especially to talk more about the Dragons. There'll probably be another story, no doubt, about your club.
I'm your number 14 as well. Anytime.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. And Matt, thanks again. Obviously, guys, sports cards, anything related, you can message the League of Interest page. I'll give you the link. I'll get you in contact with Matt, or message Matt. It's Tate Sport. Is it Tate_sports card? And there you go. I've done whatever it is. I'll do a post. You'll be able to find the link. So, Matty, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
And Tatey Sports as well. Go find him there. And tomorrow night, Eels fans, if you want to watch all the craziness that will unfold, I have a rant lined up. You've already probably seen most of it, but tomorrow, what time are we kicking off, Matty?
8:30.
8:30, Talking Para podcast. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your night.